Welcome to the Trumpet of the last few days. I'm Stanley Farrar.
And I'm Robert Farrar.
And I'm Joshua Farrar. And not nearly talented enough to imitate the opening of the Crypt Keeper. Hello, boils and ghouls.
I haven't seen the Crypt Keeper in so long I couldn't imitate it anyway.
I'm not sure I've ever seen it.
It's an entertaining show to watch. It's dated.
Well,
it's very dated, but it's entertaining.
Is it very cryptic?
Not
a
particularly.
talking skeleton. It's more along the lines of...
It's a bit bare bones.
Yeah, the old... They play... the Crypt Keeper plays a lot of B movies.
I see.
It's kind of like Mystery Science Theater 3000, but they don't commentate over the movies. They just play them.
Which makes it a lot more agonizing to watch.
Depends on the movie being played. Mystery Science Theater 3000 doesn't play B movies. They play like E and F movies.
It's more along the lines of Elvira, Mistress of the Dark.
Ah, yes.
Well, speaking about Mistress of the Dark, they've now taken and appointed a new female to the U.S. Supreme Court. And one news agency recently came out and stated she's going to execute every woman who's ever had an abortion. She's going to have them executed for murder.
You know, if half of the things they accused her of are true, she'd be worse than Vlad Tepes.
I was thinking if half the things they said about her was true, she'd be one of the best Supreme Court justices we've ever had. Actually, looking at things, equality under the law. If a man kills a baby before it's born, he gets tried for murder.
Oh, obviously, Dad, we're talking about opposite halves of the things they say about her. They talk about her as if the world would end if she's appointed.
And she's already been appointed, and the world hasn't ended yet. So
yeah.
No, but her first case was interesting.
What was that?
One of the lawsuits against a state for wanting to count votes after the election, and she was part of the majority that slapped it down.
Counting votes after the election.
Yes.
Doesn't that defeat the whole purpose of having an election?
As far as I know, though, it's still on in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, that's because it went to the Supreme Court before she was on it. And Roberts went with the liberals.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times, if the liberals are make a decision, Roberts will support it because he doesn't like making waves. I'm hoping he'll change now that there's more conservatives on the court. But he was supposed to be a conservative, and he turned out to be one of the most wishy-washy, spineless nothings that has ever been put on the court.
Even going so far as to contradict himself.
Yeah. Because it's now precedent.
But if it's bad precedent, then why should it be precedent at all?
Well, he stated that the case was that one case was bad law, a bad precedent to begin with, and first time voted against it because the Supreme Court had sided for it. The next time it came up, he sided for it.
Now, here's a question that is completely unrelated. Why on earth is the biggest basketball event in the United States March Madness and not the Supreme Court? It's right there. It's so obvious. Why?
Because most of them don't have a sense of humor.
With what they've done to basketball, better they don't call it the court.
Yeah, but think about how long basketball has been around. Surely I'm not the only one who's ever thought of this.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Supreme Court, where our challengers today are the... Yeah, it could be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Even if you throw in just some random team, for example, like LA Lakers versus Miami Heat. Sure. I'm sure at least one of those teams is relevant these days.
Neither of those do March Madness. March Madness is the college.
Is it?
Yes.
Yeah. But well, with the if it had been professional, nobody would watch it anyway.
Yeah.
Ever since they started supporting Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, but that really wasn't the last nail in their coffin. The last nail seemed to be COVID. Because all sports took like a nosedive after that. Nobody watches them anymore. Everybody's found better hobbies.
Well, that's because when they all came back, they came back woke.
Yeah.
So they're all going broke.
The only quote-unquote sport industry that has had a massive uptake since this whole thing started is esports, believe it or not. In fact, specifically for League of Legends
competitions.
Yeah, but specifically for League of Legends, which is the biggest esport in the world currently. The only thing that ever came close was StarCraft back in the day. But League of Legends went from being unfinancially viable in the United States, where they were kind of ignoring our region altogether, to having the first year where they actually turned a profit here. They were relying on funds from the esports scene in Asia and Europe because it wasn't profitable in the States. Now apparently it's turned around.
From what I understand, the most successful sport going on right now is cornhole.
You know, that doesn't surprise me for some reason.
So this is the time that Ultimate Frisbee finally rises up, becomes the dominant sport of America.
You know, it stands about as good a chance as any.
It'll have to beat out all these woke liberal types who are really, really rooting for Quidditch, though. They seem to identify their entire personality with Harry Potter.
Yeah, but that's the woke liberal types. They're not as dominant in the sports field.
Well, I don't know. It takes a lot of athleticism to keep jumping up and down with a broom and to look like you're flying.
That is when you're not using the broom to whack people.
What I want to know is, do they take and use those tennis ball auto servers for the bludgers?
Or do they just forego the bludgers altogether and just beat each other with clubs? I really don't know how they do Quidditch, to be honest. I think it's stupid to even try, but I know someone has tried.
Oh, it's actually a competitive sport, but
That is only more depressing.
It doesn't surprise me a bit.
so anyway, back to the Supreme Court.
Oh my, we do have a knack for getting off topic, don't we?
Well, right now we don't know how Amy Coney Barrett's going to go. She could take and be like she was in the lower courts and judge things very by the law, or she could be
Another Robert,
another Roberts.
which is kind of the fear, and the fear that nobody seems to be expressing.
Well,
Because a lot of people are
the thing
touting it
is
as the
that
savior of
people are
conservative-
people, and you really don't know for sure how someone is going to react in any given situation until they're in it. You can
That's
estimate,
just it.
but
And see, when she was chosen, they were just working off of her record, and that's all anybody could do.
yeah,
there are other things to get than the record. But the last thing we need is a Warren. And for those of you who don't know, Earl Warren, while he did have some good decisions, such as Brown v. Board, also is the one who laid the framework for Roe v. Wade later. And he had been very conservative, or once he got onto the Supreme Court, very liberal.
One thing that was pointed out by a Republican politician back in the 90s, he stated that when you place a good judge on the Supreme Court, they tend to go bad in order to take and be able to fit in and go to all the right parties.
ironic considering how old all of them are.
Well, that's one thing that Barrett isn't, and she's got school-age kids.
Yeah.
A lot of. I was gonna.
Out of the two women that were up for it, I personally thought that the Cuban would have been a better choice. But she had never worked under a Supreme Court justice, which I thought was a definite plus.
I don't know. I think Cubans tend to be a bit square. I prefer more spherical, a well-rounded judge.
So, your mother gave me a dirty look today when I told her that the reason I voted for one of the judges on the ballot was because he had the guts to come to a gun show and and campaign, and I'd heard bad things about the female being very liberal
Mm-hmm.
that he was running against, and the fact that she was a woman was enough to make me vote against her.
Oh my.
I don't care if people think of me as a misogynist. But when you look at it,
I'm thinking of all the proverbial dirty looks you'll get from our cousins if they ever bothered to watch the show.
There are some good female leaders out there.
yes, there are. But the thing is that most women make their decisions off of emotion. And that's the worst thing you could possibly have for a judge.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care how she feels. I don't care how any judge feels. They talk about, we need a sympathetic judge. No, we don't. We need one that follows the law. I don't care if they're cold-blooded and could care less about society as long as their judgments always follow the law.
We need lizard people. Lizard people judges.
Whoa, we don't need
Speaking
Hillary
of which,
Clinton
my
as a
latest
judge.
roommate seems to be a lizard. I hope he's killing all the spiders up there. He's been stuck on the wall for a week now.
Josh, we don't need Hillary Clinton as a judge.
Of course, that's true. She's referred to as the Ice Queen.
But remember,
She's a
lizard.
psychopath, not a lizard person. There's a difference.
No, there is actually a conspiracy theory. out
Lizard
there that
people are useful. I mean,
Well,
look
see,
at Mark Zuckerberg. He's a lizard person and he runs Facebook.
which
That's not
which
useful.
there's
Tell me something useful.
It is
See, that's
useful.
one of
It is
the arguments
very
against
good
Steve.
as a messaging platform. It's worthless as a social media platform. But
but
for
they block
messages,
anything that's against Biden.
that's why I said it's very good as a messaging platform. It's worthless for social media. But as a internet-based texting service, it works great.
That's true. It does. Though he and Google both may take and lose their tax exemption under the law.
Well, they should have already. They've long since overstepped their bounds as a platform.
Well, just as soon as they started editing, they did that.
Yeah.
Well, Section 230 says nothing platform, but
Do what?
Section 230 doesn't term platform.
It doesn't define platform. You're right. But that's also why there's talks to edit it to where it does make that difference. Because it's being abused.
230 does, though, state that they are not allowed to be a publisher, and therefore they cannot edit content except content that violates the law.
No, actually, it doesn't. They're allowed to edit. They're allowed to violate.
I'm sure there was more than just one word in that sentence.
They're allowed to edit content that violates their terms of service, part of the good faith clause.
The thing about it is they edit things that don't violate the terms of service.
I know.
And they also leave stuff in that does violate their terms of service based on who does it.
Because they're hypocrites, yeah.
Which makes them in violation of 230.
Which means they're overstepping their bounds as a platform.
Speaking of platforms,
No, I'm not going to wear those.
Oh,
Twitter's
my mind automatically went back to 9 3/4. A little bit too much Harry Potter they did today.
Yeah, Twitter has taken and been brutalizing Chris Pratt for doing nothing.
Literally doing nothing?
Yes, literally doing nothing.
Doing nothing.
He did not go to a fundraiser for Biden.
I mean,
That many
why on earth would you want to go to a fundraiser for a pedophile anyway? The last one just got kicked out of Hollywood. What's
thing about it is that not even all the rest of the cast went to it, but because he didn't go to it, they're trying to crucify him. Yet he wasn't invited to it.
That's a
So they literally.
that's an odd hill for them to choose to die on, I'll admit.
Now, would he have gone? Probably not. Whenever they've asked him why he didn't support Democrat candidates in the past, his comment has always been, "I'm a born-again Christian."
That is a very entertaining line to use.
But he's attacked a lot for being a Christian.
Mm-hmm.
Being a Christian in Hollywood is not popular.
It's one step shy of career suicide.
Worse than being a conservative in Hollywood.
Yeah, and think about it, he happens to be both. But it means that he doesn't believe that a lot of their actions and a lot of things they stand for are right.
Mm-hmm.
So he doesn't support them. He's not real outspoken against them. He just stays quiet.
In fact, this wouldn't even be news if they weren't attacking him for it. Because, let's be honest, Chris Pratt, in my mind, even though he agrees with me in this particular case, he is, in the end, an entertainer. And I don't watch his movies to see his political opinion. Just like I don't watch any other person's movies to see their political opinion.
Yeah. People don't go to watch movies, TV, or
Or
go
listen to
listen to
singers.
music
Yeah.
in order to take and hear the opinions of the performers.
They go
Somebody
there to
needs
be
tell
entertained.
Madonna that.
Someday tell Taylor Swift.
Yeah. The whole concept, they're just looking for a reason to attack someone who is very popular and yet disagrees with them.
They're looking for a mob.
Oh, they are the mob. But the cancel culture is trying to come up with a way to destroy his career.
And so
I didn't hear that.
and to keep itself relevant.
Yes.
Well,
I heard it argued one
bad
time
news
that
for
that's
them.
the reason why. That's the reason why a lot of actors go into into making political statements in the first place, is because they go around playing other people all the time, and therefore they themselves have become irrelevant. And they think that by taking up a cause makes them relevant.
When it doesn't make them any less like paper than they already are.
Have you guys ever heard of the concept of a occupational illness?
Occupational what?
An occupational illness.
No.
So, technically speaking, an occupational illness is just a type of injury or infirmary that is extremely common for someone of a certain career to possess. Now, in literature, especially in poorly translated Eastern literature, it is often used as a mindset or thought process that is inherited in that occupation due to something they do repetitively over and over and over again. So, for example, a guy who fixes electronics like me, we have the occupational illness of treating things like puzzles and always trying to take apart and put things back together. I guess that this is just the occupational illness of being an actor. You realize you're irrelevant, so you try to make yourself more relevant.
So you're saying that's why I fix things all the time?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be the occupational illness of everyone who's in the limelight?
Yes, it would be.
Well,
it's a lot better than talking about the occupational illness, the other occupational illness of my job, which is being irradiated so much you're not capable of having male children. But that's more literal.
Now, if you take the politics, political. Most of the politicians want to be famous. They want to have the same kind of prestige and adoration that actors and musicians get, and athletes. But yet, they could never make it under in any of those fields. Look at the Congress; they're horrible actors.
Depends on the politician. Although Schwarzenegger is a bad comparison here, Ronald Reagan is not.
Yes, but okay, Pelosi. We all know she's a nutcase and a liar.
Yeah. I find it astonishing that she's managed to stay in office this long.
But she's doing her best to act like she's a normal, everyday person with her $1,000 ice cream.
And
I don't honestly know what her ice cream costs. She thinks that she's better than everybody around her. And so do almost all the Democrats that have been, well, probably both sides that have been in there forever.
Yeah.
Once they take and have been elected for over 10 years, they think they own the job rather than being subject to the people.
And they forget the fact that the only reason why they maintain that job is because they haven't made big enough waves for anyone to actually recognize their name.
Yeah. Well, actually, Pelosi, everybody knew her name because of her first failed attempt as Speaker of the House.
Pelosi is the exception rather than the rule, however.
What kind of idiot goes to, oh, well, you can't read the bill until after you pass it?
Pelosi, obviously.
Obviously.
For context, that was the Obamacare bill, if I recall correctly.
You can recall correctly, yes. And the thing about it is you got Waters out there telling people to attack other people. You've got, I hope she gets beat.
Yeah.
You've got I can't even think of his name right now. The guy who was the main liar that was pushing the impeachment.
Schumer.
Chuck Schumer.
Yeah. That guy couldn't tell the truth, and it jumped up and stomped on him.
That guy wouldn't be able to recognize the truth if he was imprisoned by said truth in a village of nothing but said truth for 30 years and then released on good behavior.
He's pathological. Oh yes, I've got evidence of Russian interference. It all comes out nothing. There was no interference. He is a travesty. He's almost as bad as that one member of Congress that asked the admiral, well, if we expand the base on Guam, won't that alter its balance and make it sink?
Not how islands work.
Not how islands work. But apparently he didn't realize it needs a larger base to prevent that.
The admiral looked at him and says, "The island of Guam touches the ground. It doesn't float."
The fact that had to even be addressed is a serious question.
But we've got people like that elected to Congress. It's no wonder that our society is being ruled by a bunch of lunatics. And, oh, I was going through my videos yesterday and looking at which ones have dislikes. I have 3 videos with dislikes. The video on how knowing the scriptures can save you from error. How a house divided it cannot stand. And a I don't remember the third one right off the top of my head.
My guess would be Reprobate Minds. That's the one that has the most views on it. So
actually, it doesn't have any negatives.
It's got like 250 some views though. Statistically, that was the closest shot.
Oh, we're talking ones that have almost no views whatsoever.
Yeah.
And they're recent ones. They're all recent ones. But they're all common sense subjects. Of course, if you're going to learn the truth, it can save you from error. It's obvious that Christ said, a house divided against itself cannot stand. The subject matter is something that's unarguable, but they didn't like it, so they thumbed down it. This is the kind of people we deal with.
Hey.
It's like
it's still involvement.
It's like so many people that refer to pagan holidays as holidays, which means holy day, by the way.
Like the one that is occurring tomorrow as of time recording.
Yes.
All Hallows Eve, or Samhain, in its original context.
The thing about it is Samhain, they took and wore disguises so that the dead that would walk the earth on that night wouldn't recognize them. So thus the costumes. The priests went door to door begging for sacrifices, and that's where trick-or-treating comes from. If you gave them the sacrifice, they would leave a turnip jack-o'-lantern on your front porch lit,
which looks remarkably like a severed head if carved right, which I find entertaining.
Which was filled with human fat for the candle. And they would take in... What?
You know where they got that human fat from, too.
Human sacrifices.
Human sacrifices. And then they would take and... if you didn't, then they would play a trick on you. They would burn down your house or your barn. Slaughter your cattle. Possibly kill...
Ye old blackmail.
Kill people working for you or kill your family.
And use the excuse that they're trying to appease the spirits and keep them from demolishing the entire village.
Then they would take these sacrifices down, and they would build a wicker man. And according to Roman sources, they would put the people inside the wicker man and set it on fire and burn them alive.
So that's why you always used your youngest children as sacrifices. They burn better.
Some
apparently.
People don't appreciate that comment, Joe.
It's Think about it, it was so barbaric that even the pagan Romans were offended by it. Despite so many who try to claim, oh, Julius Caesar attacked the Britain to take and overthrow the pagans because he is a Christian. No, Christianity didn't exist yet. The Romans that conquered Britain were pagans.
The Romans were, however, pioneers in the field of cultural appropriation. They were very, very good at it.
They were also pioneers in the field of cultural elimination.
Yes,
they were very good at that
they were.
too.
They appropriated what they considered worth appropriating and destroyed the rest.
So they turned, sometime after the transition of pagan Rome into Catholic Rome, they turned Samhain into All Saints' Day.
No, All Saints' Day is the following day. It's November 1st.
Ah, yes. But All Hallows' Eve is the night before.
Yes.
Which is the night of all of the Hallows, or the Holy Ones. So yes.
Yes.
Kind of like how Christmas Eve is the night before Christmas. All Hallows' Eve is the night before All Saints' Day, or All Hallows' Day.
Which is still worship of the saints, which is
biblically incorrect. Yes,
but even if you take the Mexican version, Diez de Muertos,
Day of the Dead,
the Day of the Dead,
which
if you take
would make an interesting Mexican zombie movie, if I do say so myself. I am pitching that. George Romero, if you are listening, you can make that and just pay me a little bit of royalties.
Where did we leave off?
Let's see. I was making a joke about Dias de Muertos being Day of the Dead and Romero-style zombie movie when you guys froze up.
Well,
basically, yeah.
In many ways, it's kind of fitting that, though, if you stop and think about it, being that the Bible teaches that everybody that's not serving God is dead.
Yeah.
So we live in a world full of zombies. Well, it's kind of interesting. The majority of Christian churches take and celebrate Halloween.
Yeah.
When it's a pagan holiday. At least when the Christmas was put in a time period in which it's just so that people would quit celebrating the pagan holidays of the time, Saturnalia and Yule. But it wasn't put on the exact same days as those.
And it wasn't 10.
Correct. It was to get them to worship Christ rather than to take and continue worshiping the pagans.
Despite the fact that Christ was more born around the June-July era.
Yeah.
So Christmas in July, it's a thing.
Yes, it is. But when it comes to Halloween, it's straight up paganism. There's nothing Christian about it.
Yeah. There really is no way to dress it up, no pun intended, and make it appear to be Christian. There's nothing Christian about it. But
no, there's nothing, absolutely nothing. The candy's nice, and it's a lot of fun for little kids to dress up.
Yeah.
Though right now, with what they're telling them to do, is insane. I'll make sure they wear a mask under their mask.
What?
Make sure they wear a mask under their mask.
Wasn't it just last year that they were saying your kids shouldn't be wearing masks on Halloween? It's not safe.
Yes. Yeah, because it interferes with their breathing. And
Uh-huh.
so now they're telling them to wear another object over their face with a mask so they can
How the
suffocate
tables
even more.
turn.
It's insane.
Yeah.
It'd be better if they just took and didn't celebrate it.
True. But I do have an alternate option. You get those little marshmallow or spud launcher guns, and you just load them full of candy and shoot it at the kids buckshot style from across the yard.
I, I, I watched a video yesterday where a woman was setting up a catapult to launch candy at the kids.
That is acceptable.
She even had some kids there to test it out.
Just to be one-upped by the guy across the street who built a candy trebuchet. It's got twice the range.
Somebody take their spud cannon and load it with candy and blast. You could actually get enough force from those to actually put a potato through the door of a car.
Be very, very quiet. We're hunting children. Oh my.
But of course, your niece is going to be going out today. Well, tomorrow.
I'm not surprised. That seems like something that our sister-in-law would be quite adamant about her participating in.
Yeah. Yeah, she's really into all that. I like the decorations.
Oh, the decorations are nice. The theme is entertaining. I've always liked the Halloween theming, but
yeah. I like the movies for the most part. There's a few demonic ones I don't care for, but
yeah,
the horror genre in general, I've always been fond of.
I don't even mind the demonic ones as long as they clearly state the demons as the bad guy, even if they're factually inaccurate in just about everything else.
Well, they saw a rise of people showing symptoms of demonic possession after The Exorcist.
Okay. But so could part of that be because they were looking for those exact signs?
Possibly. Another theory is that it opened the door for weak people.
So basically the same effect, I forget the exact name of the effect, even though I heard it yesterday, where if people who are suicidal watch a movie about suicide, it spikes. The suicide attempt rate spikes by a lot.
Same concept, yes.
In which case, the only real effective way to address the issue is just not to make those movies. But then you go into the whole freedom argument over and over again, and people are going to make those movies. There's no way the law could stop them.
Well, I'm not even saying they should stop them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, from a moral standpoint, they might should.
Just choosing not to entertain or watch them.
I think it'd be very unwise for certain elements of our population to watch them.
Yes, but that's the case with almost anything.
Well, it's kind of like the people who... Video games.
Mm-hmm.
There's been an argument over whether violence in video game causes violence in society.
Short answer is no, it doesn't. But go on.
Actually, the long there's a short answer is yes, it does in some people.
Well, see, here's really the more truthful answer. Video games don't cause violence. Lag does.
But basically, people who are vulnerable towards influence and can't separate reality from fantasy are more likely to be influenced by something like that than the normal population.
The problem is fantasy is everywhere.
Yes.
Everywhere. Movies, TV, books, audiobooks, verbal storytelling. You just can't get away from it.
Oh, I agree. The fantasy's out there, but there is an element of our society that cannot differentiate between reality and fantasy.
Yes, but at the same time, our society should not cater to the mentally ill.
True. Unfortunately, they do because 80% of the journalists in our society fall into that category.
Yeah.
Oh, they did a test on it. They proved that journalists have difficulty separating fact from fiction. They have a
Which is
very
ironic considering their profession.
They have a very low ability of dealing with their own emotions.
Mm-hmm.
They get carried away with their own emotions, and they tend to have a lower IQ than the general population.
I find that significantly more entertaining than I should.
They say that according to the outcomes of that report, your average reporter is mentally a 2-year-old.
Huh.
Preschooler at most. Is it any wonder that among the media, the Democrats are king?
Fair.
They're living in a fantasy world, and they don't realize that it's all make-believe.
I was just reminded of a meme that I saw a while back, where basically it's a teacher telling a kindergartner to share with the other people in the class, and the kindergartner, of course, responds with, "Sounds like communist propaganda, but okay."
I love it. I remember back when I was about 15, we stopped one Halloween at a friend of ours in McKinney, Texas. And he put on a mask that had a wild mustache on it, and it was an interesting rubber mask. And my dog went ballistic. He took off the mask, the dog calmed right down. Put on the mask, the dog went nuts. The dog could not tell the difference, did not understand it was the same person with and without the mask.
I am so glad our dog wasn't that dumb. I have encountered a lot of dogs that are that dumb, but I am really, really glad the one that I grew up with was not.
Well, you have to understand that was a miniature dachshund. Her brain probably wasn't much bigger than that. Maybe walnut size. But the thing is your average 2 and 3-year-old can't tell the difference between the mask and the person. So is it any wonder that most reporters have a hard time understanding any of Trump's jokes.
Or jokes in general, for that matter.
And sarcasm just blows them out of the water. I mean, you get sarcastic with them, and they take it literally.
Which is probably why they spend so much time fact checking The Onion and Babylon
Babylon
Bee.
B. Yeah.
Oh, I find that hilarious whenever they do that. Hilarious. They actually dedicated a major portion of a major U.S. magazine recently to fact checking the Babylon Bee.
Oh my.
And even stated in the article that they claim to be satirical.
Now, this is also the reason why there's that statement running around that the left can't meme, because they just don't understand sarcasm, wit, or humor.
Yeah. Rush Limbaugh's been saying for a long time that Democrats had no sense of humor. But you look at him. Well, honestly, if we take and do away with all firearms, then the shooting will stop. Because nobody will have any guns, because everybody obeys the law. Wait a second. Didn't they break the law to take and do the shootings in the first place? When I was a kid, they had a problem with people putting needles and razor blades in fruit that people were handing out. At least that was the general thing the news put out. And so everybody had to go to prepackaged candies.
Mm-hmm.
And you could no longer have popcorn balls or apples or whatever fruit that were commonly given out during this time of year or at that back then. And then when you boys were little, they had a problem with people poisoning candy. And with poison, they could take the bag of candy and dunk it into a solution with the poison in it, and it would soak through the wrappers on the candy and poison them without ever opening the candy.
Mm-hmm. And long and short of it is, evil people are going to be evil.
That's right. Evil people are going to be evil, and why take and celebrate a holiday that was totally designed for evil people in the first place?
Now, I will say that there was a running joke going around last year and the year before, where they would show pictures of random standard candies, and then that typical warning of check your child's food because they've been putting, and then they would show a picture of something that couldn't possibly have been stuck in that that thing in the candy. Like one of it was. Be sure to double check your child's candy because I just found this book of Mein Kampf stuck in a Hershey's wrapper. And it was a hilarious joke.
6 pounds of C4 in a Hershey wrapper.
I haven't seen any of those this year, and I've actually found that a little bit depressing.
Oh.
Well, if you liked today's episode, feel free to hit the like button. If you disliked it, feel free to hit the dislike button.
What a note to end it on.
I guess an E flat, but either way, though, it's interaction, and interaction puts us out there, which we could always use. Feel free to leave a comment in the comment section down below, and feel free to hit the subscribe button and ring the bell for notifications when another episode drops. And feel free to share this with your friends. Please, we need the exposure.
And for that matter, share it with your enemies too. You never know; they might get a good laugh out of it too.
And Josh wants still more conspiracy theories down in the comments.
Oh, of course.
Till then, see you next time.